Well, essentially that's the teacher's role in the classroom, that you continue to foster that, and that the student is so intrinsically motivated and so interested in what they're doing that they want to go home and that they want to go outside and look at leaves on their own, and that they want to go home and like help their mom out with cooking or teach their parents about nutrition. Because in a lot, like if you take school districts around here, for example, then you have a student that maybe learns about how to make a healthy smoothie at school, and then he goes home and he's so interested and so motivated, he teaches his parents. So in that form, maybe the motivation doesn't have to come from the parents. Yes, you grow up in that kind of environment and it sucks, but if the student and the teacher are working together enough, they can go home and create a positive change in their home.
Also, just because the student comes from like a bad family or they don't support the learning doesn't mean that the student can't develop a love for learning or have that. It doesn't mean that like learning is just like a moot point for them. Like it can still happen. It can still.
What do you do for the students who go home to a home that doesn't have a computer that they need to type their paper on, or they go home and they have to work and do chores and don't have time to do homework, and maybe they're not even getting that meal that helps push them through the rest of the evening, or maybe they like don't get a nice place to stay at home, and how are they supposed to want to sit down and do homework?
How is that going to encourage their learning at all? What are you going to do with a student who's sent home without homework, who is, as you guys say, you have the drive.
They
already
have the drive
to learn. If they have the drive to learn, then explain the vast majority of things.
And no one said that they were going to have to use
I
the
think
computer.
what you were trying
I
to
think
say.
we know enough about essentialism. We got a question for behaviorism.
All right, actually, I'll go for that. We got a question for behaviorism.
So
Let's bring the front of the room in.
Like by assigning homework to students and then like praising them when they do it, how do you accommodate for the student who knows what's going on in class and goes home and doesn't want to do the homework because it has no relevance? Like what happens when that student graduates and they have a job or they're in college or they're doing something where no one's going to be like, you have to do your homework today, or like there's no consequence for that. Like that child's going to expect someone to like consistently yell at them or praise them or do whatever, but eventually you get to a point where you don't have someone that's going to do that.
The thing is, it's not used as a negative reinforcement. Studies have proven by psychologists that negative reinforcement isn't very effective. Positive reinforcement is more effective if it's just applied in a way that you had a bad situation, so you add a positive stimulation instead of a negative stimulation. So it's more of like an opportunity to just kind of reinforce what you know, and if you want the extra credit, you can do it. If you don't, whatever. So it's more of just an extra credit thing. You don't really punish the student for not doing homework, because if they know how to do it, they know how to do it, and if they want to just improve their grade, they have that opportunity.
I'm going to say you are right. Like, how are you going to? Like, in our stuff, it says that, like, students, after reinforcement so many times, they're going to be like, oh, I'm just expected to do this. I'm going to get a reward out of it. They're not going to try. Yeah, that's right. You're right. It isn't. But you need to realize, you need to be able to space it out. You have to be able to tell them, like, okay, this is expected of you, and in the real world, you're not going to get this. This is what happens. You're just not going to know it, and then it's going to hurt you later on.
What happens when the student isn't intrinsically motivated and they literally just focus on the reward punishment system? So all they know is, oh, if I do this homework, I can get candy or I can get this incentive, and that's it. Like you can never get them out of that, and they only are ever doing that.
Well, the homework allows the learner and the students to modify their behavior until they get the reward themselves, whether it's the teacher saying like you get the gold star, or if they like feel motivated now to do it because they understand the topic. If it's not like, here's this worksheet for homework and do tomorrow, if they don't understand it, go over it and make sure they understand it, and then maybe the next time they reach that problem, then they'll be able to do it on their own, and they'll feel that instant gratification and that positive reinforcement that they know how to do this. They understand what is being asked of them now, and they have the motivation to continue doing it because they've had the opportunities to go back over and reevaluate what they have talked about, and that can be done in like the classroom and like one-on-one and stuff to make sure they understand what they're being asked of.
And then there's B.F. Skinner's schedules of reinforcement, where it's not they always get stimulated every time they do something. That's overstimulation, and then there will be no improvement from behavior thereon. You space it out so the behavior doesn't decrease, but you don't overdo it so they're like, oh, I'm always going to eat candy. You implicate the homework when it's necessary and when you think they need more learning outside of, more reinforcement of what you're teaching. If you know they're all going to get it and they're all doing well, you don't give homework because there's no point. There's always a point to it.
All right, let's close out the homework debate. That was really good, guys. Go ahead, see, I mean, 2 questions and opening statements, and we're, already an hour in. All right, so talk amongst yourselves, and let's do a little vote of which